I need a new eyeliner. I have my eyeliner like down. It's a line that has shorter. I, yeah. I have my makeup. I actually have like and awesome. And you can buy it in the store. It's very expensive.
You do lunges there? Yeah? Oh my. Okay, now work out for the soul. Work out for the soul now. There you go. Now we can see you well. Whoa. Yeah, lunges of the soul now. Yeah. Oh, no, making it this way. Oh, okay, you want one for both, right? You do? You do. Oh.
Oh.
Just put that.
Look at me.
Yeah, this one you want? Okay.
Follow the course of events without apprehension. Neither your anxiety nor fear will alter the course of time. Wait for what is to come without the suffering of anticipation. What you expect to happen might actually happen, though not exactly in the way you had envisioned. For life follows a planned and incessant changes and transformations. So wait with inner harmony without agitation and dread.
Eat to live. Avoid emotional eating, which makes people live to eat. Many more people die from overeating or eating irregularly than from starvation. The extravagant wastefulness of a few is responsible for the hunger of many. Food is a blessing for bodily
Bodily existence. Yeah. Like life on earth.
however complicated
Oh my lord, I can't believe this words.
Concussions.
Yeah, concussions.
No concussions.
Concussions, yeah. Like mixture, like a
and extravagant dishes are unjustifiable passion, a harmful vice. Use food wisely and frugally so you may live a long life in optimal health.
okay. Easter is over. You guys can work out. Thank you, Alice and Leo. Thank you.
Maybe I should use them. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spiritist Society of Virginia. And today's message comes from the book entitled Pills of Trust from the Spirit Diaz de Cruz and through the mediumship of Andrea Ferreira. And it is number 21. Self-confidence. No, that's the wrong one. That's 20. There we go. Surrender and gratitude, because today's talk is about total surrender. The relationship between God and our being is shrouded in paramount peculiarities. Finding ourselves so close to the Supreme Source, humankind pleads to be noticed by it, yet feels so distant from it. It is the ego's layer of defense, awash in the illusion of materialism, that does not allow for our profound perception of the divine source, except when our being rids itself of its own demands in order to accept its circumstances and accept divine inspiration with humility. Just as the wheat is transformed into blessed bread It is essential to die and renounce in order for our being to be better known, to better know its destiny. In the same way that a seed may germinate and flourish, it is necessary for our being to get used to the weight of the soil, which will momentarily enclose it and nourish it with life. In the same way that beings may intimately know God, it is necessary to consider that before supreme wisdom and intelligence, there are only two internal postures that are healthy for surrendering to our Father: trust and gratitude. By listening to one's own heart beyond our superficial emotionality, our being may find divine inspiration in life and the necessary orientation for its efforts and its strength. We will receive guidance through intuition and the capacity for capturing and feeling God's divine presence, which vibrates and emanates from the inner recesses of our being and from nature. There's so much in this. My goodness gracious, but Daisy will sure help us today. And going after the key things here, trust and gratitude. And gratitude, I think, is pretty straightforward for most of us. But trust in God takes a lot of effort because we are so weighted down in so many things. And being able to trust in God is so important. And this morning, Vanessa's message at 10 o'clock was fear. And what else does not rid ourselves of trust is this fear. And when we can get rid of the fear, we can trust in God.
So how can we trust God if we don't talk to God? Hmm? You think there are special people that can talk to God and we don't? No. Thank God we all can talk to God. Kardec says that in the Gospel according to Spiritism. Makes sense. We can talk to God, and that's the only way to trust God. If we don't talk to God, we can't trust. We need to have a relationship with God. Do you have a relationship with God? Is there an age in which you say, now you have a relationship with God? Or do we have a relationship with God ever since?
Option 2.
Yes. So let's cherish this relationship in our prayer. Okay? It's from the heart. Let us feel ourselves enveloped by God's love. Thank you, God, for allowing us to talk to you, for teaching us through Spiritism that we don't need anybody else but ourselves to communicate with you. Who are we without you? Who are we? Nothing. You have created us. You created us and you have sustained us in your love. We're breathing right now because you want us to breathe. You invited us to come here, and we're so happy to be here amongst friends in the good, like-minded minds who are also seeking relief from pains and sorrows, seeking strength for the road ahead of us. We pray for everyone who is connected to us in this life, previous lives. And we feel your shower of healing light. We breathe the molecules of your love and praise you. We admire your works in us, in everyone and in everything, especially at this springtime, where we see life sprouting almost from nothing, proving to us that there is always a new beginning, that life continues through death, birth and rebirth. May we be open to this cycle today and always. May this therapeutic educational moment bring us harmony, balance, and peace. May we stay under your guidance, feeling your protection as you lead us into these therapeutic moments. And so be it. Okay. Thank you. So today, the lesson inside and here will match in so many points you see. Okay. Well, let's go inside, shall we, friends? For our lessons inside while the other ones stay here. Okay.
Okay, so today we're gonna talk about total surrender, huh? But before we start, because we leave sometimes to the end and we forget, and so just to make sure, we are passing two forms. One is the donations for the month of April for our service to the homeless in Washington, D.C. So you can sign up to bring any donations. We just ask for the donations to be here at the center by Sunday, April 21st, so that we can put together the bags, because in the following Saturday we'll be there. And the next list is a sign up for our volunteer opportunities. We're serving breakfast at the Rest and Shelter every Sunday at 7:30 a.m. And then Saturday the 27th will be in DC. So we'll pass the sign up sheet and then thank you, John. Yeah, 2 pens. So today we have a journey. The journey to freedom is to free ourselves. Who doesn't want to be free? Right? The question is, what is this freedom we're looking for? We gonna today, and at the end, we're gonna close with a short scene from this beautiful series documentaries this on Netflix, from talking about the life of Moses. And Moses freed the Hebrew people from Egypt, and they were looking for freedom. And we're all looking for this freedom. That's why it's gonna match so perfect, because inside, as we're talking about surrendering ourselves, the children are talking about the law of freedom. But as we'll see, as is in the gospel according to Spiritism, we're not gonna free ourselves if we don't go through this total resignation. Resignation is a term we use in Spiritism that means this total surrender. And we're gonna bring other aspects, but mainly this is in the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 9, item 8. But this chapter starts by talking about blessed are the meek, for they shall possess the earth. Meekness. If you look in the dictionary, the definition of the word meekness, it talks about being gentle, being peacemaking, being humble. And it's so interesting because Jesus in the Sermon on the Mountain, he said, blessed are the meek, blessed are the peacemakers. But we live in our society that they correlate meekness with being weak. You have to be strong. You have to have the last word. Whoever speaks first, right? Speaks the loudest. And unfortunately, it's true because those who speak the loudest, but do they, quote unquote, win for immortality? They might, in our society, still, unfortunately, have the loudest voice. But if we're going to succeed, we learn with Jesus. If we want to rise, we need to work in our meekness. Is this gentleness? Jesus was meek, yet he was not weak. He was very strong. But how can we get there? We talked a few weeks ago about patience. And today we're going to talk about two very important virtues that go hand in hand with meekness, which is obedience and resignation. We'll break these terms down together so we can learn with Kardec, Emmanuel, and many others. But let us first start with obedience. We teach our children so much to obey, right? Obey. Let's obey. You have to obey your parents. You have to obey your teachers. You have to obey the law. But in the Gospel according to Spiritism, it talks that obedience comes with the consent of reason. We are obedient when we understand the reasons why. Why did God give us a very intricate machinery, right? Our brains, very complex, right? Can you imagine? Very complex. And we have discernment. That's why Spiritism is a reason of faith. So we can study and discern. It's not a blind faith anymore. You believe because you have to. There is a reason behind it. So Kardec brings to us that we're gonna obey when we use our reason. So if we want to teach our children to obey, we explain why. But most of the time we just say, I have to do this, but why? Right? Because I said so. But do we explain why? You cannot stand in the chair. But why? Because you're gonna fall. Do you wanna hurt yourself? Oh, but they are too little. But we need to start from the child to help them discern, why are we doing this? There is a reason. And then from obedience, we will march towards this total surrender, this resignation. We cannot be resigned to the wills of God if we don't go through first obedience. If we are always saying, it's going to be my way or the highway, life will come with its challenges to show us, is that really the best way? Because God is showing another way. But resignation, tell us Kardec, comes from the heart. We use the reason to understand the reasons why to obey. It's like we obey the laws of our society. Why? Because if not, some people, if they don't obey, they go to jail. But the resignation is that a point that we don't need the external law per se because we are resigned. We already know we do because we in our hearts know that that is the right path. So in the Spirit's book, Kardec explains to us that there will be a time on earth that we're not going to need to have so many laws. Why do we need laws? Because we're still very in the animalistic, right? Very. We want to do our way and things our way. And then if society was like that, we will live literally in a jungle, right? So we do need the laws there. But then when we get to this point of resignation, we are completely surrendered. But it's a journey. But it starts with the most fundamental question of all. Who do we obey? The children, if we ask them, they might say, oh, I obey my parents. We hope, right? We hope. But do we teach them who we need to obey? Is it the parents? The parents are there temporarily in the role of parents, right? But who is our master in the terms of who governs of our life? Jesus, yes. And above Jesus, God, yes, exactly. But that's so interesting because we don't learn. We didn't mean. Did anyone in the room learn that from early age? We're here to obey God. Kind of, right? Yeah, fear God. Yes, because if not, God will come and punish us. Yes, right? That's what we believe. But it's interesting because people think, oh, I obey my boss, I obey my parents. Some people, I obey my spouse, right? Why? Who we need to learn to obey the most? God. We're here to obey God. But like Moses, God came and said, you are in the desert, you're going to go back and you're going to free the Hebrews. And he was like, what? Me? Who am I? I'm a fugitive. Why me? I'm wanted. I killed someone. The story of Moses starts, let us recap. At a time in Egypt that who thought it was the God of everything? The Pharaoh, right? Yeah, the Pharaoh thought that they were like, everyone needs to obey who? Myself. So then he saw that the workforce, which were slaves, they were growing in numbers. So he got scared. So he said, all the firstborns, male firstborns, they will be killed. And he was merciless. So Moses' mom, in an act of love and desperation, she puts Moses in the little basket in the river. And by chance, which we don't know why, the princess finds him. She had just had a stillborn. And she takes Moses in and doesn't say a word to anyone. So he grew up in Egypt as an Egyptian, as a prince. But deep inside, he knew he didn't really fit in. And he saw what was happening to the Hebrews and he didn't agree. So one day he got really upset with one of the guards, which was hurting the Hebrews. And in an act of desperation, yes, he kills him. So he flees to the desert. So when God comes and calls him, he's like, how, you're saying me go back to Egypt? Isn't that what happens to us? God comes and say, look, I will give you this family, this opportunity. Oh no, God, not me. the neighbor. I will put you in this country. Oh no, but I want to live there, is everywhere else but here. I will give you this job. Oh no, but I don't want to be in this role. I want to be in that role. So are we obeying God? Let us hear from Jesus. This is a passage from the book Good News. In a conversation with Andrew and Simon Peter, Jesus said, "To please everyone is like marching through a wide street where lies are the convention. To serve God is the task that should be above everything. Sometimes doing that divine service is natural for us to displease petty human interests." So if we want to please everyone, fail. Because to serve God, as Jesus is telling us, we're not going to please everyone. People will look at us and they will say, why? You can get a promotion, you can be traveling and doing whatever you like, but why are you waking up on a Sunday morning and 7:30 going to a shelter to serve the food? Why? Why, instead of using your money to buy 10 houses and cars, you're going to invest in a center of light on earth and you're going to help the community? People not going to understand. And usually it's those closest to us. They're going to look at us and they're going to say, why? You want to come on a Friday evening to the center? But it's the renunciation within. That's what we're talking about, this total surrender within us. It's when we do what is right and no one is looking, but God is. So that is the fundamental question for us in our lives and to teach our children and teens. We are here to serve and obey God. So then Kardec continues and says, in order to be obedient, we cannot be proud and selfish. Why? Because true faith allies itself with humility. Those who have put in their trust in God more than in themselves, because they know that they are simple instruments of God's will and can do nothing without God. Friends, like the Pharaoh, we still think that we're greater than God because we think we have a better plan. That's why to be obedient requires humility. Is for us to say, God, make me an instrument of your will. That pride and selfishness within ourselves, it's what drives us literally to the abyss. Because the end is not pretty. So when we truly surrender, we accept the designs of God in our lives. But remember, starts with reason. It's not all accepting because we have to. Well, most of the time we're still in that sense. But that's the beauty of Spiritism. That's why to go through this completely surrender to God's will, we need to know that the merit consists of bearing it without complaint. The consequences of the will that cannot be avoided. Persevering the struggles and not becoming desperate. But if unsuccessful, but without giving into indifference, which would be laziness more than virtue. So, what is Kardec saying to us? The merit comes from bearing the hardships of life without complaint, persevering in the struggle. But we want to quickly flee, right? Problems come, and then we want to run to the other side. And that's why people run to alcohol, to drugs. They want to numb themselves. We understand why it's hard. It is hard. It's not easy. That's why we need a whole village there to help us. We cannot do it by ourselves. But why do we persevere? Why we stay strong? Because we know that this life, when problems come, we think, okay, God, imagine ourselves from here to immortality. This life is just a tiny piece of our immortality. But if we succeed in this life, oh yes, then we will march forward greater happiness. Jesus said happiness is not of this world, meaning it's not on earth. But what happened? The complaining, oh, the complaining comes. But it's so hard. And then we complain and we complain. And then you encounter people and you say, how are you? And then they give you a list of things, right? That's why science shows to us that optimism is already proven to help us physically, mentally, mental health, physical health, lower blood pressure, help us with our heart. Optimism is proven to help us physically, and then we add spiritually. Is when we say, okay, God, you're giving me this challenge, but you don't give me a burden high, stronger or heavier that I can carry. And then Kardec brings to us an explanation that it's incredible. When I read this, it truly got me thinking, because he says, on the contrary, if we lack the submission to God's will, if we complain about our fictions and do not accept them with this resignation and has something deserved, if we accuse God as being unjust, we not only lose the benefit, but we contract new debt. So if we don't go through this process of obedience and resignation, and we stay in the circle of complaining and complaining and complaining and poor me, we not only don't lose the benefit of going through that challenge, but we acquire new debts. And then next life is going to be even harder. Okay, so now let us understand why, because we need to use our reason. So it all starts by understanding our reincarnatory plan. This picture is from one of André Luiz's books. It's called Projeto Imagem, but it illustrates the departments in the spiritual realm that are dedicated to helping us plan our reincarnation. There are, as we can see here, spirits that are assigned by God who are experts. And they design everything. You see the organs, the predisposition of illnesses that we will bring, the relationships that we're going to have. So, going through the surrender, that's why obedience comes with using reason. We need to reason. God is so perfect. He will not just drop us here like, boom, you here, you there, and that's it. It's like a chess game. But imagine, huh? This chess game of life is very hard. Thank goodness it doesn't require on us, it's on God. Because one little piece that you move, it changed the whole game, right? Those who play chess knows. So, but God is over there and they plan, everything's planned. Generations sometimes to come, they know that if we move, this person choose this path, it will change generations to come. But don't we have free will, Daisy? Yes, we have free will. But it's like a child, when you have a baby, you have a little toddler, and then you put them in the little circle. Playpen, thank you. Playpen, yes. They think I'm free, right? They in their vision, they think they're free. They got it. But we're there, we're like, we know exactly, right, where you are. There are parameters. That is us. Yes, we have free will. But God is like that parent who is taking care of that child. But remember, we can speed our progress or we can get stuck. So, yes, we have free will. But why is it important for us to understand our reincarnatory plan? On Fridays, we have been studying this. So we're not going to go into details today because it can become very complex. But in the course of the spiritual being, we learned that in our reincarnatory plan, we come with resources. God just doesn't drop us there and say, okay, you go. He says there are tools and resources there that you have to work on, and others were there to help. So it starts with our relationships. Number one, relationships. We don't live in a vacuum. So we understand, okay, I'm here and I have these relationships. That would be relationships that are here, that we feel that affinity, and great, they're here to help us. That are those relationships that we know we're here to work on them. But the number one is that we make those profound transformations within ourselves through those relationships. If we isolate ourselves on the top of the mountain, it's not going to take us anywhere. That's why law society, it's a law of God. Our reincarnatory environment, where we were born, for those of us who have come from other places or even other cities, other countries. But there is a reason for it. Do we think about it? The culture that we were brought up, those are all parts of who we are as a human being. So that's all part of our reincarnatory. They are opportunities for us. And then comes our favorite. Not really because we want it to go away. But pain is a part of life. And then pain comes. To do what? Displace our old self and say, you go. Imagine if life was easy, breezy, lemon squeezy. Oh, well, imagine, we know ourselves, right? For some would be, oh yes, would be all day at the beach, relaxing, would be, right, in the mountain. But we know we're here to go through this process. So pain comes and says, go, you have to work on this relationship. Go, you have to learn. You want to be patient? I will give you patience. God doesn't give us patience, but He gives opportunities to test our patience, right? So interesting. We talk more about pain. But then we have the knowledge of the truth. That's why we're here studying Spiritism. It comes as a resource, as a tool to help us in our reincarnatory plan. But we're not going to get there if we don't go through the practice of the good and charity. Jesus said, without charity, there is no salvation. So we're not going to be successful in our reincarnatory plan and get the check completed if we don't go through that practice of the good. So let us recap. We brought this a few weeks ago, but let us bring it again to really reinforce. In the book of Action and Reaction, André Luiz, through Chico Xavier, talks about the types of pain. Because to surrender to God's will, let's use our reason and let us understand. Is God sitting as the Egyptian thoughts on a throne and saying, you, bad you're gonna suffer. You gonna do. No, right? We will talk about it. We were brought up with that fear of God, right? But God is loving and kind. So let us understand why we go through things. The first one, the one we always think about, the pain expiation. What did I did in the past that now I have to come and I have to go through that experience myself? Because God is punishing us? No, because our conscience says that didn't match. So we ask and we say, I betrayed in the past. Now I need to go through this life and go through that on my own skin so that I feel it and I never do that again. How many times pain comes and challenge comes and we say, God, I got it. I don't wish this from anyone to go through this. That's how, unfortunately, majority of the time, how we learn. But there's not only reason, pain expiation. That's the first one that comes to mind. But there's also pain evolution. It's like when we go to the gym and then the next day we wake up and we're like, oh, I cannot walk. Is that pain evolution, right? The muscles, they are working, they need to stretch. So pain comes to say, go, go, you can do it. Pain evolution. So we move forward. If not, because of our part of us that are ignorant, that don't know yet, we will stay in that inertia. So pain comes and says, good, let's go. You can do it. Yeah.
Can you give an example of pain evolution?
Okay, an example of pain evolution. Yes. Okay. Let's see. Let us go to the books, right? Because that is the for us the important part, so that we go through that pain evolution, right? So, for example, a mother, right? Let us give us a very real example because we know motherhood is a challenge. It's not easy, right? It comes with pain, physical pain, emotional pain. But that pain is there, for example, to help us open our hearts. A mother, for those of you guys in the room, know you need to truly forget about yourself to take care of your child, right? You not gonna sleep whenever you want, you're not gonna eat whenever you want. Is that pain necessarily to expiate wrongs of the past? No, it's there to also help us evolve. To say, okay, now we're truly, remember, to become pure spirits, we need to work in that selflessness. So motherhood is a great example of pain. We say kindly, right? Because we love it, but it's not, it comes to push us to that pain evolution, right? You're welcome. And then comes aiding pain. Aiding pain that comes to help us. It's when we sometimes, or someone in our family, that have to go through illnesses, for example. Why? Is that necessarily to expiate? Sometimes it's an aiding pain that illnesses comes Because if not, without that illness, that person would continue recurring in the 10,000 things of life. So that aiding pen comes and say, I'm going to restrict you right here in this situation to help you. So that is aiding pen. And then Kardec says, the coward cannot be resigned. What does he mean? It means that we need courage. We cannot go through that resignation without being courageous. Jesus said, we're not going to please everyone, so we need courage. Courage in our faith. In a beautiful message by Emmanuel, he gives us the recipe. He says, the courage by keeping silent so that someone else can be louder. Remember meekness, right? In a society where the loudest voice, we teach our children, have the loudest voice, but he's saying, yes, sometimes we need the courage to let someone else have the louder voice, and we keep silent. How many times we read about Jesus where the disciples were there talking and talking? Was he like, you stop talking, let me? No, he never did that. We never read in any of the books. He waited for them to talk, and he stayed silent. And then when they asked for his input, he shared. The courage to go through suffering by suffer injuries and humiliations without deteriorating the image of your own adversaries and aggressors. That's a hard one. That's a really hard one. We have so much to learn, right? By believing in the good even when ignorance and evil seems to triumph. That's so true right now. If we turn on the TV and we just look what's happening around the world, we'll easily get desperate because still we see a lot of ignorance and evil, but the good prevails. So the courage to believe in the good. The courage to accept the routines of each day's burden, finding in it the joy of work without public applause. This goes hand in hand with when we talk about humility, because we're still waiting people to come and say, good job, great, you did great. But it's having the courage to have the joy to do the day-to-day tasks. God's saying, okay, you have to clean the house now, clean with joy, right? You have to go to work with joy. You have to take care of someone in your life, take care of that someone with joy. So we accept the routine and the day-to-day burdens. And then he ends by saying the courage to forget oneself so that others can reap the benefits of the service that will have cost your immense effort. Friends, a journey. It's a journey. Forgetting about ourselves for the benefit of others. Let others have the praise. Yes, let them benefit from our efforts and forget about ourselves. But sometimes we take the trash out and we want people to say, oh, you took the trash out. Right? We know it, right? Oh, wow. That's so great. You are the best. Right? Okay. But see how we still, but we still need to practice this so much in our lives. So that's why we will end by showing an excerpt of this documentary It's beautifully made because it's a series, right? But also they bring scholars from different religions to talk about what happened, and it's so well made. But why? And we're gonna bring specific this at this point where Moses decides to go up the mountain. So someone we stop in the story where we're saying, right? He was brought up as a prince. He had that feeling inside he did not fit in. He did not agree the way the Hebrews were treated. In an act of desperation, he kills the guard. He flees to the desert. And then he finds a group of people who take him in. He has a family, so he could spend the rest of his life there. But it's still that something inside of him keeps, mm, no, Moses, there's more for you. So that's when he decided to go up the mountain. Something is there. He doesn't know yet. But let us hear the dialogue between him and God to illustrate for us times when God comes and said, I choose you and you and you. Was Moses any different than us in the sense of we are also called by God every day? God saying, I choose you. You can do it. You can do it. But then we're like, no, who am I? I want to stay in my comfort zone. Yeah, exactly. So we are called friends every day, but we need to surrender ourselves because if we keep, as the Pharaoh, we'll see in the documentary, the plagues come 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and he's still not giving in. He says, no, I'm not giving you the freedom that you want. But then at the end, we see. So, in order for us to be free, how we started by talking about freedom, we will only achieve that freedom if we obey. Who? Not our parents in the terms of who are we truly here to obey? Not the spouses, not the children, because in some families, the parents are obeying the children, right? Because the children rule the house, right? We're here to obey God. So let us go, and we're showing this so that we can go home and watch. It's just 3 episodes, although a little bit longer each. So worth it. Okay. It's on Netflix. Yeah. Thank you, Tony. Oops.
I think God calls us in a variety of ways. Sometimes our call is the result of struggle, but sometimes our call is a rejection of the comfort and the convenience we have so come to enjoy. And I think that's what Moses represents.
Moses was deeply flawed and extraordinarily resilient. He was conflicted about his identity. He was an adopted child. He was a person with a criminal record. He was homeless for part of his life. And his failures teach us as much as his achievements.
God calls who he wants to call. In fact, I can't think of a single person in the Bible outside of Jesus that doesn't have a glaring character flaw or impediment in some way, shape, or form that is like, really? But God just specializes in that. The God of Scripture is a God who specializes in taking broken things and not just fixing them, but repurposing them for something even greater.
Take off your shoes. Who are you? This is holy ground, Moses. Take off your shoes. Then what do you want from me? Do as I say. I am what I am, and what I will be. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The God of the Israelites. The God of everything. And you are what you are, and what you will be. My messengers.
The Hebrew Bible makes a fundamental point that human beings cannot see God. They cannot be in the physical presence of God. There is one great exception. The exception is Moses.
You're truly God. I am what I am, and what I will be.
We have a bush that is burning but not consumed. A Jewish philosopher named Philo, who lived around the time of Christ, reads this allegorically. He says it's symbolic of Israel's enslavement, which is they're burned but they're not consumed. They're still surviving.
I have watched you for years, Moses, seeking, questioning, and I have brought you here to reveal your purpose. You will return to Egypt. You will persuade the Hebrews to follow you. And in my name, you will demand their freedom from Pharaoh. Pharaoh will never free the Hebrews. He will resist, and I will smite him for it. What have I to do with the Hebrews? I am not a leader or man of war. Until you find your way, your brother, Aaron, will speak for you. Your brother? Go to Egypt. Announce yourself to the Hebrews as my messenger. I will tell you my name, the name I am known by, and they will know that you speak for me.
Moses doesn't know that he's going to be convincing, and God says, okay, Don't worry. I'll tell you my name. It's Eya Sheri. I will be that I will be, or I will become that I will become. What kind of name is that? It's a name that's a verb. God is a verb.
I'm not the man for this task. Not even a good man. I have chosen you, Moses.
You know, we wanna watch more, right? It's okay. Thank you, Tony. This is just a teaser for us, right? To go and watch. It's so beautiful. But friends, God is a verb, as it was said. God created us and He loves us. In the eyes of God, we're all equal. So we are all here with a purpose. We all have our tasks. As we saw, there's a whole team in the spiritual realm. Imagine the work that it is for the spirits who are there watching over us, caring for us, and they are rooting for us. They're saying, you can do it. This big plan that we were given, it's all based on what we can carry. It's all based on what we need, not exactly what we want. But we're here to succeed. But as we started with the first question, who are we obeying? Who is giving us the direction in our lives? Do we talk to God? As Vanessa said at the beginning, we have this direct communication. Do we talk to God and say, God, before we make a decision, before we go to the next step, before we buy something, we say, God, is this what you want? And if we make this exercise, the more we exercise this conversation with God, more we're going to be able to hear because God is talking to us. But we need to practice so we can hear His counsels. So let us strengthen this relationship, starting with prayer. Prayer doesn't need to be a big prayer. It's just a thought. We think, we connect, but God's there guiding our lives. And if we go through that obedience, even if we don't understand everything yet, because God He knows why. But we say, God, if you are allowing me to go through this, it's because there is a purpose. So then life becomes lighter and easier. And then we're going to be able to go through these processes in life more resigned with ourselves. We're all children of God. So, who is our master? Yes, Jesus. He was the emissary of God. But Jesus is so humble that every time people ask him, why are you here? He said, I'm here to fulfill my Father's wishes. Oh, you're so good, Jesus. No, I'm not good. God is good. So that's why we put this picture because Jesus was always, and he was Jesus, huh? He was always referring back to God. So let us not be like the pharaohs that thought that they could do it all, that they had a better plan. God came and showed to them that it doesn't work like that. But we don't need to go through that if we work on our obedience and resignation now. That's when we'll be completely free. Okay? So let us stay with these images of Jesus as we're going to start preparing ourselves for the passes. Okay?
Let us visualize Master Jesus with us. He brings his loving care and his kindness to us. Let us feel his illuminated hands applying onto us the energy medicine that we need for the mind and the bodies. Let us keep visualizing this painting by Akiane. When Jesus says, "Oh Father, please forgive them for they don't know what they're doing." Let us feel his mercy onto us, feel his loving care, and cleanse our hearts from feelings that are no longer needed. Breathing in and out the healing vibrations of the Christ. Let us visualize Jesus, our best friend, enveloping us in his beautiful, loving heart of love, his embrace of kindness, showering us with new strength, detoxing our minds and hearts.
Hi, Mommy. Mommy.
Give it to your mom before you sit at the chair, okay? You give it to your mom.
Come here.
You're okay, come on. right, let's look at Jesus' picture on the screen. He loves us so much. He cares for us. He's now sending from the sky beautiful energies. Let us breathe in and out and feel His healing light embracing us, giving us strength and protection. We close our eyes and feel this shower of healing light, strengthening us, protecting us, our homes, our schools. Okay, go back inside. Okay. You what? So you can stay with your mom. Okay? You can stay here or go there. Okay? Okay, Virginia. So let us look at the picture on the screen. Visualize Jesus with us. He's the governor of our planet, the best friend in our lives. Feeling His loving heart enveloping us in light, in protection, visualizing our schools, enveloped in His light, our homes. Let us breathe in and out and surrender completely to Jesus' loving care. Let us help one another as we have been helped, visualizing Mother Mary with us, enveloping us in her loving care, giving us new direction and saying everything shall pass. God is in charge of our lives. We are safe.
Amado Mestre Jesus, com tanta felicidade, estamos aqui lembrando de todas as tuas ações maravilhosas que trazem a nossa fé às alturas, Senhor. Te pedimos ajuda, sabemos muitas vezes nem merecer, mas que tanto necessitamos e por isso te imploramos, Senhor, esteja conosco, be with us, and please always bring us to the next level of hope, of knowing that we will get there, that we will be closer to you, and we will be able to be as good as we can with your help. And so be it. So be it.
Friends, if you have any question, any concern, any comment, let us know, okay? For the parents, especially the parents of the little kids, always remind them. They did very well, but remind them the following rules is key to a good life. Huh? We don't do what we want, we do what we have to do. Following rules is very important, right? And when we come here, it's not a daycare. They're learning inside. They're learning life skills for immortality. So it's very good for them. We would encourage you to come. The more consistent you are in bringing them, the better for them. Because when they come, they are learning lessons that no college, no master's degree, no PhD on earth can teach us. And they will ace in life. So we would encourage you to bring your children and keep encouraging them to come and learn the lessons that will serve for immortality, okay? If you have any question, let us know. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Check my Check